Hi, everyone. Back to the more YouTube channel. It's Chris back with a match preview for Newcastle United's next upcoming game. These fixtures are crazy in January, and no more crazy than a Sunday 3 o'clock kickoff. What is all that about? Against Crystal Palace at St James's Park. I'm going to be at the game, so Mark will be on post-match duties, but I am here for the match preview, talking about how I think we're going to line up, how I think we may do in the game, talk about the opposition, who their danger men are as well, and just talk about what I think the result is going to be. If that's the kind of thing you guys like, smash subscribe below, help get us to the next milestone. We're currently about 12,400 and something, maybe 300 and something. So we're getting close to the 13,000 mark. It'll be lovely to get there really early on in the new year, and hopefully it's going to be another great year forevermore. It was a great year last year for subscribers and views and everything, with the channel growing. We really hope this year is going to be as successful, but also we hope it's successful for Newcastle United, regardless of some of the negative videos and maybe been doing or deemed to be negative videos over the last few months. This team's form hasn't been great, but this is a good chance to really start January with a bang with Newcastle United and get into a good position early doors. So we're going to get stuck right into the lineup now in terms of how I think we are going to line up as Newcastle United. Now, this is a big if, really. This is all dependent on Eddie Howe's team use, and I'll get to that in a minute in terms of what he said. But providing that Tino Livramento is fit to play in this game, or Kieran Trippier or Emil Kraft, take your pick in terms of a right back, I think we'll go Nick Pope in goal. Either Tino Livramento would be the starting option, would be my preferred option, or it could possibly be Trippier, but he sounds like he's further back, according to Eddie Howe, or Emil Kraft, it sounds like he's even closer in at right back. And then that would be Malik Chow and Fabian Schär at centre-half. They don't work together. It doesn't seem to be great, but we just won the last game. Eddie doesn't normally change a winning team, and I think that's what they do. The good news is Lewis Hall is fit to play in this game. What he said about Hall after he had his knocked ankle injury was he should be okay. We'll have a closer look at him today. He's an important player for us. He's technically excellent, attacking front foot defender, and he's only going to get better the more games that he plays. And he's absolutely right about that. There's no doubt about it. Without Lewis Hall at the minute, we're struggling to see a lot of creativity in this lineup. But that's, I think, the back forward lineup now. If and only if those players are fit, I would move Lewis Miley back into midfield alongside Bruno Guimaraes, and I would rest Sandro Tonali for this game. Tonali has not looked like himself at all. He's looked off the pace. He's struggled. His passing's wayward. And Palace have got a half-decent midfield, one in particular, which I'll get into in a minute. And I don't want to see Sandro Tonali making slack passes or blowing out of gas or looking disinterested in this midfield. I want to see Lewis Miley in there being neat and tidy and comfortable on the ball. He's grown in games. He was brilliant against Everton when we played them, and he was in the centre midfield, you know, when he's coming against Leverkusen as well, and he got a goal. He's only had a makeshift right back appearance last few games because of the injuries. He's done really well there, but he's a midfielder by trade. He's a very good midfielder. Him and Bruno click really well together, and I'd like to see them two in the midfield. And I think Joe Linton will continue with that starting berth in midfield because Jacob Ramsey's just not doing enough. Joe Willock, who's actually a Crystal Palace target this January, if you believe that, he may come in, but I don't think that he will. I think Joe Linton will stay in the midfield with those three, providing, again, the right back situation is what it is. And up front, I think Jacob Murphy will come back into the side. Bit harsh on Harvey Barnes. Personally, I want the manager to grow a pair and move Anthony Gordon on the right wing and tell him he's playing there. But Barnes on the left wing where he's more effective and potent, and then have Wissa through the middle. Now, he could easily change this. He could have Voltemada through the middle, but I think Murphy is going to come in on the right-hand side. He normally has a good game against Palace, and I think Jacob Murphy will be the one who gets the nod. Anthony Elanga is still nowhere near in terms of fitness. What you said about Elanga is Anthony hasn't trained with us yet, but he's very close to doing so. In terms of some of the other injuries, obviously with defence, he said that they've got a couple of training days, but Livramento and Trippier have worked really well. They've got a couple of recovery periods, so they're really close, and Emil Kraft is further back. So that's why I think we may see a natural right back come into the team and give Miley the chance back in midfield. I'll be fucking raging if he drops Lewis Miley if a right back is fit, because Lewis Miley doesn't deserve to be dropped at all. On Sven Botman, he says that Sven Botman's been training with the group and he's been great, so he envisages him being in and around this game. Maybe Botman will be on the bench, but he has thrown Botman straight in from the start again. Personally, I'd love to see Sven Botman back next to Malik Chow. I think it adds more balance to that back four. And again, Palace have got some tidy attacking players, which I'll get into in a second. And that's something that we need to be wary of. But that's the team I think that will probably line up, providing that the injury news is good. But Eddie Howe, it's so hard to predict what he's going to do in terms of dropping in form players. It's not hard to predict the formation he plays and the tactics that he implements, which is unfortunate. But that's what I think we'll probably end up going with. And this is a funny fixture, because this is last season's Carabao Cup winners versus last season's FA Cup winners. But we both had kind of funny seasons in many ways that maybe not as as potent or as consistent as we would like to have done. I'm just looking at the last few fixtures, and Palace have only won one of their last 5 games, whereas we've actually won 2 of our last 5 games. The latest outing was a 1-1 draw at home against Fulham. In terms of the players that lined up in that game, they had Dean Henderson in goal, the FA Cup hero, the scourge of Pep Guardiola. They had a back three of Jefferson Lerma, is it Lacroix, and obviously former Newcastle United target, maybe still a Newcastle United target, Mark Gahey, which I don't know whether he is or not. I think he's probably going to be picked up by bigger clubs. No disrespect to us. Obviously, it's my club and I love Newcastle, but the likes of City and Liverpool and even some European super giants like Bayern Munich are apparently interested in Mark Gahey. So maybe he won't be wanting to sign for Newcastle United, especially with no Champions League football either. Across the midfield, they had a kind of a 3 at the back and then had 4 in midfield with 2 wing backs. Tyrick Mitchell on one side, who's a decent player, gets up and down. I think he's good defensively. He offers a little bit going forward as well. Nathan Clyne, which I still can't believe he's playing. Nathaniel Clyne, my God, how old is he now? I'm going to check this. How old is Nathaniel Clyne? I think he actually got an assist in this game as well. I need to see how old this lad is because I feel like he's been around forever. How old is Nathaniel Clyne? Let me just have a little look here. I need to have a look at this and see what is going on. How old is he? He's 34 years old. He could play for us. He's that old, Nathaniel Clyne. We'll probably sign him in the January transfer window. We love a 30-year-old. And then in the midfield, obviously had superstar Adam Wharton, who is so good in midfield. And if we're not careful, he could get control of this midfield. We need our midfield to be at it, intense, good with the ball, move it quickly. Don't allow this kid time or space because he can wriggle out of tight spaces. He's got such a radar and an eye for a pass. He could really cause some serious problems for Newcastle United in this game if we allow him time and space on the ball. They had Will Hughes in midfield who went off with an injury, but I think looking at their injury news, he's probably going to be back and fit. They had Davini and Pino just behind the beast himself, Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's actually been linked to Newcastle before in the past. I like him. I think he's a really good player. He's got a lot of qualities, good qualities about him. He's strong. He's got a decent turn of pace. He's a good finisher as well in terms of what he does. He's 28 years old now. She's at the peak of his powers. He's playing for France now as well, which is brilliant for Jean-Philippe Mateta. Let's just see what he's doing in the Premier League. Have a look here. So he's got 8 goals. So 19 appearances all in all. And he's got 8 goals. So he's having a decent season as well. Is Mateta. And we've got to be careful with him. We've got to be very mindful of him. He can get involved in a mix-up and a fight. He can back into you. He's strong. He can roll you. He's good in the air. He's good on the deck as well. So he's a very dangerous centre forward. We've got to be very, very careful as to how we manage that guy. In terms of other players that are missing, they are missing Sarr, who's away at the African Cup of Nations. Ismaila Sarr, who's a really good player for them, was excellent in the FA Cup final. So he is out at the African Cup of Nations. They're also missing Munez as well, who's a decent player to come off the bench and do stuff. And I don't think he's a consistent starter, but he's half decent. Yeah, they're also missing Czech Decore as well. It gives them a little bit more strength in the middle of the park. They are missing Nketiah as well, who started to get some goals for them since his signing from Arsenal. Kind of took a while to warm up, but is a dangerous little player. And he's out missing as well. So they are missing some decent players there in terms of attacking quality players who can do something in the final third. So that might help us, to be fair. Looking at their bench, they didn't have loads on the bench. A lot of kids on the bench in the last game there. They still had kind of stalwarts, in terms of coming on and trying to do a few things. But a lot of them are just Bairns really on the Palace bench. And Glasner, it's a bit funny for Glasner at the minute because Glasner is a manager a lot of our fans would like to have. But, the form guide is quite similar. Eddie Howe's at the minute, won a cup, playing in Europe and not doing so great in the league. So if you get Glasner for Howe, it's almost a copy and paste type thing. And he's not signing a contract as Glasner. So I think Glasner's got his eyes on bigger jobs. Personally, I think Glasner could throw his hat in the ring, potentially. You never know, even for the Chelsea job. I wouldn't go near it with a 10-foot pole because it's poison. But he could even got his eyes on the Manchester United job with Amorim because, even though they beat us on Boxing Day, which I still can't believe, drawing against Wolves and playing as bad as they've played, I just do not see Ruben Amorim lasting too long in that job. I really don't. I'd still be surprised if he gets to the season, to be brutally honest with you. But Glasner may have his eye on a job like that potentially in the summer, or maybe something a little bit overseas. Who knows? But Palace are a beatable side. If Newcastle show up and play like they did in the first half against Chelsea, like they did in the first 8 minutes against Burnley, we could beat Palace. We've got a good record against Palace at home. Previously, we smashed them last season, and we have got a good form against Palace. But Newcastle do need to definitely get players back. There's no doubt. The right back position, as good as Miley's done, get a bit more balance in there. Get Tino or Trippier or even Kraft back into that position. that adds a bit more balance to that side of the pitch and allows Miley step in the midfield and get control, because we've lost control in the midfield. And I don't want to be playing against an Adam Wharton with no control in the midfield, because that's what he does. Adam Wharton controls midfield. I think he's an excellent little player, and he's probably destined for bigger things than Palace, in all fairness to him. But we need that midfield to be back solid and strong. I do think Tonali needs that rest, so I do hope a right back's fit to do that. We need Botman back, really, or Burn back, to add a bit more balance to the centre-half situation, because Chow and Cher are a little bit too similar. I think they just don't work. But signings are key for January. The January transfer window is open now, and we have to get signings in through the door to bolster the numbers of the squad, to add a bit more balance, add a bit more competition for places. Complacency setting with the players as well. And I think a lot of them are just half-arsing it because they know they'll probably start the next game. A lot of people will say that's me being hyperbolic, but I can see it. I don't see the same effort levels and the same drive or hunger from players that I have previously. But I do think this is a beatable Palace side, and I think this is a run of fixtures where Newcastle should be looking for maximum points. I'm going to back the lads. I'll be at the game, and I'll be singing, I'll be cheering him on. And I hope that they do the business, regardless of what I think about Howe, in terms of whether I think he's gone too far as the manager and maybe need a freshness. I still want the lads to win. I still want Howe to turn it around. But I think this is going to be a difficult game, but I think I'm going to back Newcastle to win 2-1 in this game. We won't keep a clean sheet, I don't think, against Palace with Mateta on the pitch. I think he's too dangerous from Wharton with the way he can rip teams apart with those killer passes. I think we will concede, but I'm going to go 2-1 to Newcastle United. So let us know in the comments below what you think about that. Do you think Newcastle will draw this game, win it, lose it? What do you think? What do you think about the lineup? Would you like to see Miley back in midfield, or would you keep him at right back and persevere with Sandro and hope he turns back to form like Eddie seems to be doing? But always like to hear from you guys. Drop a comment, and remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, especially when Mark goes live on Sunday night with a post-match. I'll be back for previews, and we're going to do a transfer show hopefully next week as well. Talk about what we think Newcastle United need. We've got loads of rumour hazards coming back because we're linked to players all over the place. So keep it ever more, guys. Have a better, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.